Robber baron is a derogatory term of social criticism originally applied to certain wealthy and powerful 19th-century American businessmen. The term appeared as early as the August 1870 issue of the Atlantic Monthly magazine. By the late 1800s, the term was typically applied to businessmen who used exploitative practices to amass their wealth. These practices included exerting control over natural resources, influencing high levels of government, paying subsistence wages, squashing competition by acquiring their competitors to create monopolies and raise prices, and schemes to sell stock at inflated prices to unsuspecting investors. The term combines the sense of criminal and illegitimate aristocracy. We hear now on all sides the term robber barons applied to some of the great capitalists. The old robber barons of the Middle Ages who plundered sword in hand and lance in rest were more honest than this new aristocracy of swindling millionaires. A leader F. Baldwin, quoting the August 1870 issue of the Atlantic Monthly, writing in 1907 about how little business had changed in 35 years. History. The term robber baron derives from the medieval German lords who charged nominally illegal tolls on the primitive roads crossing their lands or the larger tolls on ships traversing the Rhine. All such actions without adding anything of value, but instead lining one's pockets to the detriment of the common good. U.S. political and economic commentator Matthew Josephson further popularized the term during the Great Depression in a 1934 book by the same title. He attributed the phrase to an 1880 anti-monopoly pamphlet about railroad magnates. Like the German antecedent princes, Josephson alleged that American big businessmen amassed huge fortunes immorally, unethically, and unjustly. The theme was popular during the Great Depression amid public scorn for big business. After the Depression, business historian, Alan Nevins, challenged this view of American big businessmen by advocating the industrial statesman thesis. Nevins, in his John D. Rockefeller, The Heroic Age of American Enterprise, took on Josephson. He argued that while Rockefeller may have engaged in some unethical and illegal business practices, this should not overshadow his bringing order to industrial chaos of the day. Gilded Age capitalists, according to Nevins, sought to impose order and stability on competitive business, and that their work made the United States the foremost economy by the 20th century. This debate about the morality of certain business practices has continued, with the term being applied to modern industrialists and media moguls. In popular culture, in the 1970s the student body of Stanford University voted to use robber barons as the nickname for their sports teams. However, school administrators disallowed it, saying it was disrespectful to the school's founder, Leland Stanford. No other mascot won acceptance, so the teams are known as the Cardinal. List of businessmen who were labeled as robber barons. The people here are listed in Josephson, Robber Barons, or in the cited source, John Jacob Astor New York, Andrew Carnegie Pittsburgh and New York, William A. Clark Butte, Montana, J. Cook Philadelphia, Charles Crocker California, Daniel Drew New York, James Buchanan Duke Durham, North Carolina, Marshall Field Chicago, James Fisk New York, Henry Morrison Fligler New York and Florida, Henry Clay Frick Pittsburgh and New York, John Warren Gates Texas, J. Gould New York, Edward Henry Harriman New York, Charles T. Hind, Illinois, Missouri, Kentucky, California, Mark Hopkins California, Collis Potter Huntington, California, Andrew W. Mellon, Pittsburgh, J. P. Morgan New York, John Cleveland Osgood, Colorado, Henry B. Planter Florida, John D. Rockefeller Cleveland, New York, Charles M. Schwab Pittsburgh and New York, Joseph Sligman New York, John D. Spreckles California, Leland Stanford, California, Cornelius Vanderbilt New York, Charles Tyson Yerkes Chicago. See also, business magnate, captain of industry. References. Further reading, Beatty, Jack. Age of Betrayal, The Triumph of Money in America, 1865–1900. Vintage Books. ISBN 14000032423. Fraser, Steve. The Age of Acquiescence. The Life and Death of American Resistance to Organized Wealth and Power. Little, Brown and Company. ISBN 0316185434, Josephson, Matthew. The Robber Barons, The Great American Capitalists, 1861–1901, White, Richard. Railroaded, The Transcontinentals and the Making of Modern America. W. W. Norton and Company. ISBN 978-0393342376. Zinn, Howard. Chapter 11, Robber Barons and Rebels from A People's History of the United States. Harper Perennial. ISBN 0060838655. External links, The Dark Side of the Gilded Age. The Atlantic, June 12, 2007, full show, The New Robber Barons. Moyers and Company. December 19, 2014.